Now, let us continue our discussion of superconductivity and let's go further. Till now, we were looking at the electromagnetic response of the superconductor, and now let us look at some thermodynamic aspects of the superconductor. Before we do that, I would just like to show you this periodic table, which actually shows the materials which are shaded with green or yellow are the ones which are superconducting. These are elements which actually become superconducting in the periodic table. So the phenomena of superconductivity is not really a very rare phenomena. It's quite prevalent in the periodic table. You can see that there are many elements which become superconducting, and some elements actually become superconducting under very high pressure. For example, this material vanadium has a Tc of 5.4 Kelvin, which increases to 7.2 Kelvin under high pressure. Lithium is superconducting under and has a Tc of around 20 Kelvin under 60 GPa pressure, or under 50 GPa pressure. Likewise, there are other elements which have superconductivity. Either without pressure they can be superconducting, or under pressure they can be superconducting. So it's not such a rare phenomena. Mercury is not the only material element which is superconducting. There are a host of other elements, and there are a variety of other compounds and alloys which are superconducting. I will have a few lectures which will discuss with materials, superconducting materials, and I will come to that later. This is just to give you an idea that there are a variety of materials which are superconducting. Now let us go to thermodynamic aspects of superconductor. So now let us look at things like quantities like specific heat of the superconductor, entropy. What are these quantities? The free energy of the superconductor. How do these thermodynamic quantities behave when the material turns from a normal to a superconducting state as a function of, say, temperature? When you cool the system below the superconducting transition temperature, what happens to these thermodynamic quantities? And does it give us an idea of what is the nature of this new electronic phase which is emerging inside the system? So these are the type of questions that we will now ask. And the first experiment that I show you is a measurement of specific heat in aluminium. Specific heat as a function of temperature in aluminium. And you can see that if you cool the superconductor, if you cool this aluminium superconductor, then below its transition temperature, which is located here, you see a large jump in specific heat. So the specific heat shows, so if you are measuring, for example, resistance as a function of temperature, then in between 1 and 1.5 Kelvin the resistance would go to 0, and wherever the resistance goes to 0 at the critical transition temperature, the specific heat shows a very sharp jump. It rises up and then falls down. Now if you see here, I have this data. This data is the data which is taken for aluminium when you apply a strong magnetic field to the superconductor. And the effect of a strong magnetic field is to actually suppress the superconducting state. When you apply a very strong magnetic field to a superconductor, it is sufficient to kill the superconducting state. And we will come to that explanation later on. However, what you show here is the behavior of specific heat of aluminium when it is normal, namely when it does not show any superconductivity. So how can you take a superconductor and make it not show superconductivity? Namely, how do you turn it normal without changing the temperature? You apply a strong magnetic field. If you apply a strong enough magnetic field, you can suppress this jump, and by applying this strong magnetic field, this curve that you are seeing, this is the behavior of a normal non-superconducting aluminium, which is taken in a strong magnetic field. By strong magnetic field, I mean a value of magnetic field which is of the order of something called as the critical field of the superconductor. Okay, and we'll come to the concept of a critical field. Okay, so it is that field above which there is no difference thermodynamically between the superconducting state and the normal state behavior of a material. Okay, so if there is a material which turns superconducting below a certain temperature, then at T less than Tc, if you apply a magnetic field which is of the order of the thermodynamic critical field, then at fields which are above the thermodynamic critical field, there is no difference thermodynamically between the superconducting state and the normal state of the material, even if T is less than Tc. You could be less than Tc, for example in this case, but here you have applied a field H which is greater than Hc, okay, of aluminium, and as a result you can actually suppress the superconducting transition inside this system. Okay, so this is an example that if you don't apply the magnetic field, you see this nice jump in, and this is characteristic of superconductors, that the entry into the superconducting state is via jump in specific heat. This is another example. If you see this view graph below, that just below the superconducting transition you see a large jump in specific heat, but if you apply a large enough magnetic field, you can suppress this jump in specific completely, and what you see is the behavior of specific heat of the normal state of the material. Okay, so thermodynamically the specific heat corresponds, the superconducting transition corresponds to a jump in specific heat, and we are introduced to this concept of a critical field. Okay, it represents the magnetic field above which there is energetically or thermodynamically there is no difference between the superconducting state and the normal state of the material, although you could be less than Tc. Although it is the thermodynamic critical magnetic field, it is often used to actually represent a typical energy scale inside the system. For example, the magnetic field, okay, Bc, instead of Hc we can actually call it as Bc. Okay, Bc square by 2 mu naught is actually an energy scale. This is your magnetostatic energy density. Okay, Bc square by 2 mu naught represents an energy scale associated with the superconductor, such that if you exceed this energy scale, there is no difference between the superconducting state and the normal state of the material, and it is also called the condensation energy. Okay, it's also called the condensation energy, where delta, so this Bc square by 2 mu naught we will show is proportional to some energy scale inside the superconductor, which is called as the superconducting energy gap. But for now you just remember that although Hc is a thermodynamic critical field above which the superconductor turns normal, Hc is also, or Bc is also, a measure of an energy scale, where if you exceed this energy scale, the superconductor turns normal. So Bc square by 2 mu naught is a measure of the energy scale inside the superconductor, above which there is no difference between the superconducting state and the normal state of the material. And often what one does is that one actually measures this delta and calculates the thermodynamic critical field, because you have the Meissner response. Namely, your Meissner response corresponds to B is equal to 0 inside the superconductor, which means that 4 pi m is equal to minus h. Okay, and if you take a superconductor and measure its magnetization as a function of field, so this is at T less than Tc, and you measure the magnetization as a function of field, there will be a straight line slope with a susceptibility of minus 1 by 4 pi. This is your Meissner response. However, can you indefinitely keep on applying a magnetic field and measuring this Meissner response? No. There is a critical field Hc above which the magnetization sharply drops to 0, and from a superconducting state the material becomes normal. Although your temperature is less than Tc, even though your temperature is less than Tc, if you apply a magnetic field which is in this low temperature state, which is below Tc, you take the superconductor, you measure its magnetization, it will be minus 1 by 4 pi. The susceptibility will be minus 1 by 4 pi, and it will be superconducting until an until this thermodynamic critical field value, and if you cross this thermodynamic critical field value, the magnetization crashes and it becomes zero and the material turns normal although your temperature is less than Tc. This is the measure of your thermodynamic critical field. It's an energy. These are certain class of materials. Now what I showed you here is not exhibited by all superconductors. If you see here, I have writing type 1 superconductor. So there are certain types of superconductors like lead, tin, and such elemental superconductors which have a magnetization which looks like this. Namely, they definitely show the Meissner phase, but the moment you hit the thermodynamic critical field, they become zero. They immediately turn completely normal. Okay, these type of materials are called as type 1 superconductors, and type 1 superconductors, typically the thermodynamic critical fields are very low. They are typically few hundreds of Oersted, okay, and not more than that. These are type 1 materials, but we will have a better way of actually classifying type 1 materials later on. For now, you just consider that if you measure magnetization as a function of field at T less than Tc for these type of materials, type 1 materials, then the magnetization above Hc will crash to zero. But there are other types of materials which are called as type 2 superconductors, wherein the magnetization will be Meissner-like, Meissner phase, where susceptibility is minus 1 by 4 pi up to a field which is called as the lower critical field. This is called as the lower critical field, which is few hundreds of Oersted. But once you cross the lower critical field, then you find that the magnetization does not immediately crash to zero, but rather the magnetization actually very gradually, the diamagnetism decreases. The diamagnetism decreases very gradually and slowly, and only at very large magnetic field values, I'm sorry, this is Hc2, okay, which is called as the upper critical field. This is called as the upper critical field. Only at very large magnetic fields does the superconductor turn normal. Okay, and these upper critical field values could be of the order of few tens to hundreds of Teslas. There are materials in which this upper critical field actually reaches few hundreds of Teslas also. Okay, so these type of materials where you have the magnetization which behaves like this, where above the lower critical field the magnetization loses diamagnetism, or the diamagnetism here it has reached its maximum diamagnetic value, and then the magnetization, instead of crashing to zero as in type 1 materials, in type 2 materials it actually gradually decreases. Okay, and between Hc1 and Hc2 the magnetization is gradually decreasing. This is called as the mixed state. It's a very interesting state of, very interesting and a characteristic state of type 2 materials, and these type 2 materials have a very large upper critical field. So from application point of view, type 2 superconductors are very important, because suppose you want to use a superconductor in a magnetic field environment. Superconductors, as you know, require they actually carry current in with zero voltage. Okay, so suppose you make a wire, okay, and you want to operate it in a magnet. Now the magnet itself will generate a magnetic field, so you have a wire which is operating in a magnetic field environment. Now if its critical field is very low, just of the order of few hundreds of Oersted, then immediately the superconductor will turn normal, and therefore you will not have the zero dissipation state. You know, you cannot sustain current inside the material. However, if you take a type 2 superconductor, then these type 2 superconductors can sustain magnetic fields up to very large. These can sustain superconductivity up to very large magnetic fields of the order of few tens to hundreds of Teslas. Okay, so in magnet applications and applications where you have currents which are being carried in a very strong magnetic field environment, you actually use type 2 materials. These are typically alloys and mixtures and compounds and ceramics and all of those types of materials where you have this sort of a behavior. Okay, and the mixed state, which is between this lower critical field and the upper critical field, there exists a very interesting state called the vortex state, where actually the superconductor breaks up into small regions which are normal. Okay, so you do not have a homogeneous superconducting state as you have below HC1. Below HC1 you have a homogeneous uniform superconducting state, but above HC1 and below HC2 in type 2 superconductors you get a new state which is called the mixed state, where the superconductor actually breaks up into small very microscopic regions which are normal, surrounded by superconductor. Okay, so this is called, these are the normal regions. What are shown here in red are called these are normal regions, and whatever is the remaining bluish region, this is superconducting, and the red regions are normal regions, and these small normal pockets are called vortices. Okay, and it forms the vortex state in type 2 superconductors. It's a very interesting and important state for type 2 materials. Okay, however, here you really don't have any something like a thermodynamic critical field. What you have is a lower critical field and a upper critical field. Now you can define a thermodynamic critical field depending on something called as the energy gap of the superconductor, and from the energy gap you can actually calculate how much is the thermodynamic critical field, which is actually proportional to Hc square. This gap is proportional to Hc square, and thereby you will get a thermodynamic critical field which will be close to upper critical field. Sometimes the thermodynamic critical field is also taken as a geometric mean of Hc1 and Hc2, and if your Hc2 is much larger than Hc1, then of course your Hc is almost very close to Hc2. So the typical thermodynamic critical fields of type 2 superconductors are quite high, and so these actually lose the difference in energy between the superconducting state and the normal state. The energy at which so the amount of energy you supply to the material with the magnetic field, that reduces the energy difference between the superconducting and the normal state, and the point at which the balance tilts, namely there is thermodynamically no difference between the superconducting and normal state, is very close to the upper critical field. Okay, so this brings us to the next topic, which is that of the thermodynamic behavior of superconductors.